Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey. Sup? Okay, let's go. Let's learn. History hit. The incredible Warbows were preserved inside a Tudor shipwreck. Hi, my name's Connor. I like to learn. Let's go.
Our knowledge of this formidable weapon comes largely from the Tudor warship, the Mary Rose. Raised from the Solent in the 1980s, the Mary Rose has revealed a trove of artifacts, including a number of perfectly preserved war bows. These discoveries have given incredible insights into late medieval archery, inspiring Todd and Joe's investigations into late medieval archery.
Is that like a trigger?
Inspiring Todd and Joe's investigations here today. So Joe, there's a 76 pound bow, but in medieval times we know from the Mary Rose the bows were much heavier. Well, what would this one be?
So
this bigger bow?
This is sort of 135, 140 pound draw weight.
So does that mean it takes 145 pounds in order to snap the rope? Like, or does it mean like it needs 145 pounds of weight to pull it back to the desired pullback length? I'm assuming that's got to be it. And I mean, doing that with 135 pounds all the time, that'd be a lot.
Which is
that's like the bench bar with the 245s with a 45 on each side, and just that's tough.
What you need really.
I'm saying this without really even knowing if I'm right, if that's what the 145 means. One of you guys.
Sort of 135.
You always do.
140 pound draw weight, which is what you need really to shift a heavy arrow to do some damage.
So we're talking about a war bow.
A war bow, yeah, exactly.
And we know from the Mary Rose, the bows that were brought out for that, the average draw weight I think was 140 pounds.
Yeah, 140. So that's perfect. Fits in with what my findings have been to shoot a heavy arrow decent weight.
But there were bows on the Mary Rose that were much heavier, 180, 185 pounds draw weight. I mean, monsters.
Yeah, as you say, it's some real big ones which take a long time to learn how to shoot accurately. Years, in fact. So this one's about 160 pounds-ish. So yeah, you've got the real nice flexible sapwood and a nice, hard, compression-resilient belly, heartwood, which makes a perfect belly.
As we had.
So obviously it would really work your back muscles. I wonder if archers back then, like if you had a heavy bow, because they'd probably favor pulling, you have a better. I wonder if like one side of their back was like noticeably stronger than the other side of the back, of their back.
I'd seen previously, there's only one way to determine the true strength of a bow. It's another tense moment for Joe as he tests the heavier war bow.
That's scary.
154 pound draw weight. It's a similar draw weight to those discovered aboard the Mary Rose.
I get big guys who go to the gym all the time who I'll pull that. They literally pull it halfway. They can't do it because their muscles haven't developed in the right way to pull that bow.
It's like I love bench. Like I'm not the biggest person, right? But I like working out. But I love bench pressing. It's probably the only workout that I truly just really enjoy doing. But just because it's that doesn't mean like I can squat a ton of weight, So just because you go to the gym and lift a certain way doesn't mean you're gonna.
These reasons why practice was so important for archers, and might be why Edward I insisted that men forgo all other sports. But of course, it wasn't just the science of attack that was changing, so was the science of defense. And there's one item more that can attest to this: armor.
Could you hold that for me, mate? Squash it in.
Got it.
There we go. So this is a breastplate made by a friend of mine, Ash, and it's representative of one that we would have found Agincourt, a little different to Towton, but not massively different.
It's very strong, isn't it? I mean,
It is very strong. Just push it in because it's a variable thickness, and what it means by that is the threat, of course, comes predominantly from the front. Yeah. And so it's thicker at the front than it is at the sides, and that saves you a bit of weight.
So how thick would it be in the middle of the front?
2.5 millimetres.
2.5 millimetres?
Yeah, something like that on this one.
And is that designed predominantly to resist arrows?
Yeah, you know, the curved shape probably helped. I'm sure even like a pointed diamond shape might have even been better. Or I don't know. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, like them saying how thick it is. I really have no way to...
Arrows or other weapons as well. What was the main motivation for that strength?
Well, it certainly is going to be resisting arrows, but of course an awful lot of their combat is going to be on foot to foot against other knights and so on. So really it's a multi-purpose item. Okay. But it is the layering, the composite layer of the armour that helps to defend it against multiple threats. So you've got a padded garment under here, which is not massively thick, but maybe 4, 6, 8 layers. Over that, you've got the mail. Then over that, you've got the breastplate and the rest of the armour, the arms and the legs and everything else. And it's that combination that really helps you to resist the attack.
And this fluting, is that to deflect arrows?
Here, yeah, you can see that fundamentally you've got the neck defences here.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it went straight up,
What you don't want is arrows hitting and skidding up, ricocheting up under the neck. And so that deflects them away. And again, it's exactly the same on tank armour now, or at least certainly was Second World War. It's exactly the same thing. You do not want the shells coming in just under the turret.
Skipping in, yeah.
Skipping under. So that just sends them away. So it's the same device for hundreds of years has worked.
Grabbing our bows, Joe and I...
Imagine you were the guy who had to link all of these together. Like that was your job.
So it's the same device for hundreds of years has worked.
Grabbing our bows, Joe and I are going to put the armour to the test.
Oh, we fired that a lot quicker than I was ready for.
To the test. Wow.
Yeah.
The armour worked.
It did.
Broke the arrow.
Low down, yeah.
Man, this guy just came at the first guy.
Grabbing
He's not messing around.
Joe and I are going to put the armour to the test.
Look at that. That's child's play. You got my attention now.
That is nasty.
Wow, that's really interesting. Now, he's in trouble. He's got 2 injuries here, 3 injuries. But, I mean, despite the strength of this plate armour, you've made a hole in it, which is amazing.
That might have been a kill hit, too. I don't know where the heart exactly is. If it's, like, more up here or more there.
Kind of got 2 things going on. So one, Joe's made a hole through it, which is amazing. You know, arrows, bent piece of wood making holes through sheet steel. You don't imagine that. But then the other thing is the armour has done exactly what it's meant to do. That you've got a bit of deformation, that takes some of the shock out, some of the force. But then also, it hasn't penetrated deeply. Yes, there's a hole there, but it's not a hole that's deep enough for the arrow to pass through and hurt the person inside. So it looks a lot worse than it is. To the guy inside, it's nothing.
Except that.
And I wonder, like, obviously if you're really rich or high status, you can get a replacement, but I'm sure most people would want that fixed. In which case, you just got to push it out and then, fill it in with a little melted...
out some of the force, but then also, it hasn't penetrated deeply. Yes, there's a hole there, but it's not a hole that's deep enough for the arrow to pass through and hurt the person inside. So it looks a lot worse than it is. To the guy inside, it's nothing.
Except that you've got a mass of men facing 5,000 archers firing at this range. That would have been just terrifying.
Now, thank you. I was just about to say, terrifying. That is terrifying. Like, I don't know why when I think of getting shot by an arrow, I just think of it as being much more of like something you saw in like Gladiator or Braveheart, where it's like, yeah, it looks like it sucks, but these look like so much more power is going into it. I mean, all right, I'm at 557. Where do they shoot it? Oh, like right there. That's oh. Like imagine that you didn't have that piece of armor on. I mean, I wonder. Like, did an arrow ever like go through someone, like in one way and out the other, or
Terrifying.
Terrifying. That is terrifying.
Soon, battlefields would be filled with the sounds of gunpowder and small arms as cannons became the weapons of choice. The days of the bow were numbered, but they weren't over, not just yet. To see this evidence, I've come to one of the most famous shipwrecks in the world, the Mary Rose. The Mary Rose was a veteran of many campaigns, having served Tudor kings for 33 years. And it would be fighting in another Anglo-French war that would see her luck finally run out. Sinking off the coast of England in 1545, the Mary Rose claimed the lives of nearly 500 crew members and lay undisturbed for over 400 years before she was raised in a daring feat of marine archaeology. I've come to meet a member of the team who was involved in the raising of the Mary Rose, Dr. Alex Hildred.
Wow, this is amazing. I mean, to stand here this close is really special. It feels like time travel. So what do we know about how the ship sank?
Well, what we do know, because we found the archaeological evidence, is that all of the gun ports, both on the starboard...
American? I don't know why I always get kind of disappointed when I hear an American teach me about British history. It shouldn't matter, but I'm just like, I want a British person to teach me.
Time travel. So what do we know about how the ship sank?
Well, what we do know, because we found the archaeological evidence, is that all of the gun ports, both on the starboard side and the port side, all the lids were open and hinged above them. She goes out of the fleet, and we've got a very good image of that. We call it the Cowdray engraving, but it's the encampment of the King's forces at Portsmouth. And you see that the flagship, the Henry Grassager, is engaging the French galleys. The Mary Rose has come out from behind her, because the rest of them are sort of in wedge formation behind, and fired the guns on her starboard side as she goes over, and then turns and thinks.
So she's turning then to the port?
She's turning to port. Why she did it.
Is she from New England? I don't know why I get a feeling.
Whether the ship was slightly sluggish, whether she'd been hit earlier in the morning by French gunfire, we don't know. The French actually say that they sank her.
But if she was sunk, then any damage that would have caused that would have been on the side of the ship that's now missing.
That's right. And so we have crawled over the side of the ship looking for battle damage. There is absolutely nothing, but you're right. It would be on the side that's missing.
When a battleship comes back to port, the first thing they do is take everything off and fix it up. What's unique about the Mary Rose is that she was engaged in combat, so you had everything on board that a warship would have at the peak of its operation.
Absolutely, and we have an inventory for all of the vessels within the King's fleet, and you can tick off the things, and so this is an inventory of what she should be if she was fully functional, and we can tick off archaeologically virtually all of those things.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The artifacts preserved in this tragedy would help revolutionize our...
Is there like a sort of fungus on it? Like, what is the white stuff? Like the remnants of maybe like barnacle?
understanding of Tudor archery. Amongst the cannons and small arms discovered were hundreds of warbows.
So we're now in the reserve collection of the museum, where we're storing some of the longbows that aren't on display.
Oh my God, look at that. That is amazing. You've just opened the door to a medieval bowyer's workshop.
These are all from one chest. in the lower deck, so they were
Why
in
did they look
store,
so
which is why
good?
they're in such
almost
light
look
condition.
too
They haven't taken up any colour from the sediments because they've been protected by the elm
They
chests.
look like new.
I swear, like half the questions I have would be answered if I just didn't talk.
Up any
But I can't help it.
colour from the sediments because they've been protected by the elm chests.
They look like new.
Yeah.
They do, don't they?
Oh, they're, what, 500 years old?
Well, nearly.
But what fascinates me is they're bending away from the string.
The reverse curve shows that these are reflex bows. Their arms bend away from the archer when unstrung, allowing the bow to be
Huh? What do you say? Like they look like polished and everything.
From the string.
Like you'd find in like a gift shop or something. I would never have.
The reverse curve shows that these are reflex bows. Their arms
The concurve, like Mongolian.
bend away from the archer when unstrung, allowing the bow to be put under greater strength when the string is attached, meaning they can be shorter but still retain the same draw weight as their full-length counterparts. Perfect for the confined spaces of a ship. But not all of the bows were found stored in boxes. A handful were discovered loose, suggesting they might have been in use only seconds before the Mary Rose sank.
This, by difference, are some of the ones that were found loose as opposed to... They fell out of chests, perhaps on the upper deck. And you can see immediately the different coloration, and some of them are actually damaged. That was obviously broken, and we've glued it
Almost
back
looks like
together
a piece
again.
of antler.
But that bend there is probably where, with a compression within the sediments.
This looks like it was strung.
This one here.
Was strung with the string when the ship went down.
There are some...
That's a strong bow. You know, this was probably in the hand of an archer at the time the ship went down.
Amazingly, nearly 500 years later, the maker's marks, the signature of the men who crafted these bows for Henry VIII, are still clearly visible.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see?
Yes.
So the edge of it...
Little points being put in.
There's an...
Yeah, there's
there
a
it is.
maker's mark there. The bowyer, maybe.
The Mary Rose bows provide incredible evidence of the true role of archery in
How is he able to get the cross image as like his signature? That's like getting like the number 2 as your license plate. It's like how wasn't that taken?
bows,
Oh, I'm the crossbow guy. Crossbow. Sorry.
provide incredible evidence of the true role of archery in Tudor warfare.
When I started to make bows, most of the literature that described the English longbow based opinions on Victorian target bows, which are toys by comparison to these bows. It was only when this weight of evidence turned up, it was undeniable. Here was a light on true medieval archery. It's amazing.
Well, the Mary Rose is amazing because you've got things, these weapons that were used out of wood next to the newest bronze guns that were, you know, the last one was cast in 1543. So, and it was, you know, with huge expense to produce, to cast 3 tons of metal, molten metal, and cast these guns. And here we have simple sticks.
I mean, it's fantastic to see. What an incredible collection.
11,000 years in the making, this is where our story of archery ends.